hope you're well. I just got back from our Europe trip 2 days ago. We came home on Friday evening and I'm definitely still super jet lagged. I woke up at 3 a.m. today, so that's how that's been going. I'm super excited to share this sketchbook with you. I've been wanting to do a sketchbook tour ever since I started my YouTube channel, but I just haven't had a sketchbook that I've been excited about enough to make a sketchbook tour. So when I went on this trip, I decided that I would keep a sketchbook as kind of like a travel journal, because I find it really hard to keep an actual journal writing things down, but sketching was something that I was really interested in doing. I'm always interested in drawing all the time, so it just seemed like a really good way to document the trip. I bought this little sketchbook on Amazon shortly before we left because I wanted something that was small, and the paper, I wanted like multimedia paper so I could potentially use water based paints on it, and but also be able to use just like pen and colored pencil. So you'll see this in the sketchbook too, but one thing that I was really excited about going to Europe for was getting to go to the Lush that's on Oxford Street in London. I used to work for Lush for like 4 years. If you don't know, Lush is like a cosmetic company that sells handmade soaps and bath bombs. They're mostly known for their bath bombs, I'd say. But anyways, I worked there for forever, and the Lush Oxford Street store is like the holy grail of Lushes. They have cool, like, unique products you can't get other places in the world, so I'd been wanting to go there for years, so it was pretty surreal to get to go there, and they had special merch, so this little patch was one of the things that I picked up, and when I bought it, I didn't even know what I was gonna do with it, and then it occurred to me that I could put it on my sketchbook because I don't really have anything else that I can put patches on, but I think it looks really cute here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so it was our first day. We left on Thursday, August 18th, and we flew into Toronto first. So Edmonton to Toronto was about like a 3 or so hour flight. By the way too, I'm planning on putting out, I vlogged the whole time I was there, so I'm just gonna give like kind of bits and pieces of the trip here while I go through the drawings and talk about that, but there will be some really fun, more in-depth vlogs of the whole trip coming very soon. I just wanted to do this first because I'm wanting to like talk through these sketches, not only for you, but for myself too, to remember everything while it's still fresh in my mind. Yeah, so I always love looking out the window and like seeing the airplane wings, so I ended up drawing that a few different times. I got tired of it after a while. I was like, I'm gonna do this for every flight, but that got old really fast. Yeah, so this was our first flight. I started a book called A Man Called Ove on the way there. I really liked that book. It was, I think I gave it a 4-star rating on Goodreads. Not my like favorite book of all time, but it was really sweet, and I really loved the general message of the book, and then the themes, and then I drew a little doodle of me and Kelsey, how we were dressed that day of traveling. And then, so we arrived in Edinburgh, Scotland was our first stop. We were staying with our friend Julia there, and so because of the time difference, we left at like 6 a.m. on August 18th, had a 10-hour layover when we were in Toronto, so we didn't get to Edinburgh till the morning of August 19th because we lost 7 hours of time in the time change. So when we got to Edinburgh, we were completely exhausted because we had left home almost 24 hours before and gotten barely any sleep, a little bit on the plane, and for Kelsey a little bit on the floor of the airport, but we were exhausted. But we really wanted to try and stay up and beat the jet lag and just go to sleep at a normal time. So when we first got there, we went to a little park called Loch End Park. Got to see some nice birds and nice flowers, and then we went, the first place we stopped was the Red Kite Cafe, so I drew my latte, and then we went to dinner at this like tapas place, and had this amazing like honey cheese thing and tzatziki and a bunch of other little dishes. Yeah, and the first thing I noticed as soon as I landed in Scotland was the beautiful architecture everywhere. Like, it's easy to forget when you live somewhere like Canada that like all the buildings are maximum like a few hundred years old, and then when you go overseas the buildings can be hundreds of years old. Just beautiful. I really tried to use this sketchbook as an opportunity to work on my more like technical drawing skills. Like, I find buildings were really good for that, and drawing buildings is something that I'm really bad at because I really like to draw kind of more quickly and get general shapes and do things a little bit more simplistically. But it was good practice, although I wasn't always completely happy with how they turned out. They do get better as you go through the book, which is cool to see my growth and being able to depict buildings in a way that looks nice. My goal was to do like a full spread for each day of the trip, but it ended up being that some days were like not filled with anything exciting enough to draw like a travel day where we just got on a plane, went to where we were going and crashed basically, so no sketches from those days, and some days I didn't fill a whole page, but then sometimes I do many pages. So this was, I think this actually might have been, yeah, this was our first, this was still the 19th. Wow, we actually did more on our very first night than I'm remembering. We went to do the Real Mary King's Close, which is a tour of basically, like my understanding, and I'm no expert, but in Scotland, in Edinburgh at least, sorry, it's kind of on a big hill. And so all of the buildings were built on hills, and then over time they just, instead of building new buildings, they just built on top of the pre-existing homes that were kind of just built into the side of the hill. So you have all of these underground like networks of rooms that were people's homes, and so they give you this tour of this area, and a big part of the historical story that's being told on the tour is about like the plague. So there's like a plague doctor statue, and there's this like kind of storyline that you follow a little bit that's all related to the when the plague affected Edinburgh. So that was really interesting. This was our drawing of our tour guide. She was wearing this really beautiful like yellow Victorian dress, so I drew her. We also went to Kelsey wanted to make sure he got out to a sort of Scottish pub on the first day, so that's a drawing of that. And then the national flower of Scotland is a thistle, which I learned on this trip is because it had something to do with like in a battle, in a war, the opposing team, someone stepped on a thistle and yelped out when they were supposed to be in hiding and revealed themselves to the Scottish army, and so that is why the thistle is their national flower, which I think is hilarious. This would be the next day. There's these cute little statues on our walk from our friend's place into town. We walked pretty much everywhere in Edinburgh. Like we only took buses periodically because it took just as long or sometimes longer to get somewhere on a bus than it did by foot. So we did so much walking when we were there. And we went to this delicious cheesecake place, but what was actually, like the cheesecake was really good, but what was actually even better was their bagel sandwiches. They made the bagels in-house, and they were like the best bagel I've ever had. I wish we had gone back more than once. We went to the National Museum of Scotland, and the thing that was my favorite, like I don't know why I'm so drawn to ceramics that are like the beautiful blue, like monochromatic blue patterns. I don't know what to, I always just kind of make up what to call them. I feel like there's probably a proper name for how to describe that style of ceramics. If you know it, let me know. I'm just gonna keep calling it monochromatic pretty blue ceramics until I learn what it actually is. But yeah, that was one of my favorite things that we saw in the museum that day. We didn't get to stay as long as I would have liked because there's just so much happening. Lots of pigeons everywhere, and I love pigeons, so I had to draw one, obviously. I'm still learning, like I really want to get better at drawing pigeons, and it's really hard to draw their, like, how they have that iridescent, like bluey purple coloring on their necks. That's what I was trying to get at here, but I didn't do it justice. And then we went to McGonagall's Gin and Whiskey Emporium, which is a cute little pub in, what is it called? Grassmarket, I'm pretty sure. I'll put text on the screen if I'm remembering that wrong. And then we just happened to be walking around, and so it was the Fringe Festival while we were there. And so people, first of all, it was packed with people everywhere. It was insanely busy. People were walking around handing out their pamphlets for their Fringe shows that were coming up. We got handed one for like a Wordle-based comedy thing, and we were like, that sounds fun. So we went in, and the guy was like, the bit was basically that he got everyone in the audience to submit what their first Wordle word is, and he, on the spot, he wrote pun-based jokes based on all of our Wordle words, and he told us to be able to cheer if we used our word in one of his jokes. So, but it was good. It was a free show, although it's funny because they tell you like, oh, it's a free show, and then at the end they're like, yeah, but we're not funded, so if you enjoyed yourself, you should probably pay us. And we're like, oh yeah, we should pay you. You should get paid for this, but I thought I wasn't gonna have to pay for this right now. So that was that. Okay, so this is a little, like, I took a picture of the view. So we went to do the Arthur's Seat hike. So I took this picture and I really liked it, and then I just sketched out the rough shape of the picture, and then I hadn't colored it yet because I knew I wanted to do it with paint rather than try and do it with colored pencil. And then so later I got this little watercolor set, and I went back in, but this was the first thing I tried to do with my new watercolor set that had this teeny tiny brush. So I was learning how to use this teeny tiny brush while doing this little filling in the color on here, so I'm not totally happy with how it turned out, but I think it is nice because it generally gives, like, I like the composition of the photo, and I like that I don't know, that I did it in my own style, but that's why it looks a little wonky. Tons of areas that have like these cobbly paths, and I just really love that. I thought it was really nice. You saw lots of greenery growing through the edges, and I wish that we had that more. Like, everywhere is just like solid concrete, and this is just so fun and charming. Some little sketches from, I don't remember specifically what we did these days, except this was, Kelsey got to hold an owl, which was pretty cool. They were raising money for their, I think it was a sanctuary that supports birds that are found and taken in and cared for. So they were, like, you just paid £5 and you got to hold the owl on your arm, so Kelsey was pretty stoked about that. And I was very excited to see some European robins because I love them. I think they're so cute, and obviously we don't have them here. We have the North American robin. And Edinburgh Castle was something we got to do. I believe it must have been that day. It was really neat, actually, because Kelsey's family's coat of arms was in there, so we got to go in and see that, which was pretty cool. And then the next day we went to the Edinburgh Zoo, which was super fun. It's a really, really lovely zoo. I thought about going back and doing these with color, and then I just never did. The giraffe looks so funny because he doesn't have spots, because I initially did these in pencil, went over in pen, and then didn't go back in and add spots, so he's a naked giraffe. I think my favorite animals that day were the pandas. I just love bears, and pandas are just particularly, like, dopey and sleepy and so cute. And I surprisingly love the armadillos. They were so cute, and I'm very proud of my little armadillo drawing because I've never drawn one before, and it turned out pretty cute. The sloths were amazing too. You can't go wrong with a sloth. And then, yeah, so we spent 5 days in Scotland. On our last full day there, we got to see this hilarious, like, absurdist comedian. He was marketing his show as a magic show, and we didn't read the description very closely, but it actually was more like comedy centered around being magic. It was so funny. Okay, so August 24th was a hectic day because we actually, it's a long story, I won't get into it here. I probably will get more into it in the vlog, but we missed our first flight to London and had to book another one, so we didn't get to London until like 8 p.m. after a whole day of being in the airport. But I did draw the plane wing again, and then just a couple little sketches. This was our first full proper day in London. It was raining that day. This was the day we went to Lush Oxford Street, and the girl who worked there put green liquid eyeliner on me, and I loved it, and I really wanted to buy it, but I was like, I don't think I'm ever gonna put this on myself. I like how it looks right now, but I think I'm too lazy with my makeup to do it myself, so I didn't end up buying it. I kind of regret it, but that's okay. I'll find a green eyeliner somewhere here. And then the same day we got to go see Tame Impala at All Points East. This is such a weird, it was a very experimental drawing. I think it has potential, but doing it in colored pencil didn't work out the way that I hoped. I want to put on the screen like a picture of the picture that I was drawing, so you can see what I was going for here. And then the next day we took a day trip to Liverpool. So we left pretty early in the morning, took a 2-hour train, and went out to Liverpool, and we did a bunch of Beatles related tour stuff. I love this spread, it's so fun. I wish I'd had more than just colored pencils to do it with. I had some black pen for some parts of it, but I'm very proud of my little yellow submarine. I was trying to just fill it with like little, like it started out really obvious Beatles things and then it got more subtle. Like I have like a blackbird and diamonds in the sky, and then strawberries for Strawberry Field. But this is what our bus looked like. It was pretty fun. I'll if you're curious about this, I'll show it way more in depth in the vlog. It was really cool. It was a very inspirational experience. And we accidentally showed up during International Beatles Week, so it was super busy in Liverpool and on all the Beatles related things, and we weren't expecting it, but it was still awesome. The next day was the day I got to meet up with Neela, who is one of my internet besties. We met on Instagram a few years ago and have been close friends online ever since. And so she lives in Bristol and just happened to be in London for the weekend, so we got to hang out for a whole day. We went to the park and she took us on a little tour around, even though she doesn't live in London, she knew the area pretty well, and well, better than us at least, and showed us around to all the cool touristy spots like Buckingham Palace and Big Ben and all that good stuff. And we went for lunch, and then we ended up going to the V&A Museum, Victorian Arts Museum, which was one of my favorite spots on the trip. I absolutely loved it there, and we got to go to the Beatrix Potter exhibit. It was fantastic. I highly recommend if you're able to go. I loved it. I was so inspired after that. Didn't realize I knew Beatrix Potter was amazing, but I didn't know how much I loved her until I got to learn more about her story. I just felt like there were so many things about her that I see in me, and it just really inspires me to keep doing what I'm doing and work towards doing the kind of stuff that she accomplished. This was just some fun strawberries for fun, but on this side I wanted to kind of draw out some animal characters. I was feeling really inspired by all of Beatrix Potter's adorable animal characters, so I sketched out these guys. I think I thought I might paint them later, but I think what I'll do instead is just come back to this as like an idea to build on later, like this bear with in the rain with his raincoat, and this little bunny picking I think strawberries. So I might explore these ideas for little characters later. And then this is a little sketch of this really beautiful spot in London that to pick where we were gonna go, I would just kind of scroll around on the map and pick out places that were marked on the map as like highly rated on Google reviews and stuff like that. So this was this beautiful little kind of hidden park area that had these beautiful concrete walls with windows built into it. I don't really know how to explain exactly what it was. It's just this magical little place. Watch the vlog if you want to see the videos of it. Kind of getting tired of this style of like colored pencil work, so I decided to just do some pen sketches of some of my favorite things in London. So that was fun. And then our first day in Amsterdam was August 29th. I started drawing some buildings, because Amsterdam is like the ideal place to go if you're looking for inspiration from architecture. The buildings there are so insanely cool. A page of just very stereotypical Amsterdam Dutchy things. And then this I actually did a little Instagram reel for, because I did this while I was we were hanging out in this really beautiful park, and we spent hours there all afternoon. So I just spent the afternoon filling out a sketchbook page and filmed it along the way, but that was really fun to do. I had my watercolors at this point, and I was kind of getting into more mixed media stuff, which is kind of more my comfort zone. I love this page. I don't love this page. I was just experimenting with my new pens and seeing how I liked to use them, but I found these look a little bit like, I don't know, I feel like they look kind of childish, but it's all in good fun. These are just places that we went that I wanted to remember. So this was a little vegan, I can't remember if it's vegan or vegetarian, but it was a burger bar in Amsterdam, and their gimmick was that they had all their burgers had different colored buns. So I had like a burger with a purple bun, and Kelsey had one with a green bun, and they were all completely different. Even the patties were different. So that was cool. We got really good, relatively cheap ice cream at this place that I'm not even gonna bother trying to pronounce. And then we did a boat tour that night, which was really lovely. We started it at about 8 o'clock, so it was still light out, and then we got to see the sunset while on the boat in the canals, and then it was dark by the time we got back, so we just got to tour through Amsterdam at night on a boat. It was really lovely. I feel like we're finally getting to the part of the sketchbook like I actually am really proud of and I really like. So these were inspired by the botanic garden we went to in Amsterdam. Pandora and I went there together. So Pandora is another one of my Instagram best friends. We also met around the same time that I met Neela, and the three of us have been online pals for a while, and so I got to hang out with Neela in London, and then Pandora came to meet us in Amsterdam, and this was one of the most beautiful botanical gardens I've ever seen. It was really lovely, and they had a butterfly house. So fun. It was awesome. And then these are also sketches from that day. So there's a really funny sign that just said, "Careful, bees." We got drinks at the cafe at the Botanic Garden. There was this really beautiful black and white duck, and I didn't have black paint, but it was speckled like this and it was so cute, so I tried to paint it. And then we went to this really cute little shop called Pansy. They weren't even open that day, but because they were doing like cleanup and changeover stuff for the fall season, but Pandora reached out to them and they let us come in for an exclusive little visit, which was awesome. I'm so glad I got to go in there. I got some really cute postcards and stuff in there. This page was just a exploring some ideas. When I have an idea pop into my head, I'm trying to learn how to just go throw it down on a page somewhere instead of just being like, oh, I'll deal with that later. I'll do something with that idea later, because often I just forget about it. So while I was drawing these, I was like, wouldn't it be cute if I drew like flower people that were in these like dynamic poses? So I did some of those, and then something else reminded me of like strawberries with faces, little strawberry characters, so I was drawing some of those too. I really love this. This was inspired by some of the ceramic pieces that were in Pansy. I think I directly copied exactly what their pieces look like, but then I just added in some little flowers. I might develop this into like a fuller piece one day because I really like it. I think it's cute. Okay, so I knew a little bit about Van Gogh and his history before going to the museum, but I didn't anticipate how much being there was going to impact me and how inspiring I was going to find it. My main takeaway after going through the exhibit and reading all of the blurbs and learning more deeply about his story is that I think the reason why Van Gogh is such a celebrated artist is that he made the mundane beautiful, and he painted in a way that was relatable, and that takes so much dedication to your craft, because it's one thing to put paint on a page, but it takes years of refining your skills to be able to really make art that showcases your unique view of the world. And I think that's what makes art beautiful, is that you get to see the way that someone else sees the world through their art. And what makes art resonate is when the way that that's done speaks to your own experience. And I think when artists are being authentic, that is just naturally what happens, is we all do tend to have similar experiences, as different as they seem on the surface. Like, we all tend to go through a lot of similar patterns in life and struggle with similar things when you look at them deep down. And Van Gogh just was amazing at depicting the world in a really beautiful way that was very real, and you could just feel how he sees the world around him through his paintings, which is what's really amazing about what he does, and has just inspired me to keep working towards the ongoing struggle of an artist, which is perpetually trying to make what you put on the page match how you really feel and how you see the world. This one ended up being like a really abstract version of the original painting. So, sorry, I should explain. So I decided, like, I did this little portrait, and And then I decided I wanted to do some little mini studies of some of my favorite pieces that I saw. This one ended up being my least favorite of all of them. I thought I would like it, like replicating it the most, but I didn't have the right materials to really make it come to life the way I wanted to. I might redo this one day. This one was really fun. I decided to just go for a really abstract approach to replicating this painting. I unfortunately don't know what this one is called. I really liked how it turned out. It was a really good exercise in just kind of like color picking and being able to mix my paints to get the color that matched the original painting, and it was a cool study in like the composition and kind of figuring out like what drew me to this painting and how can I make sure that I replicate it in my own version of it. And then I love this one. This is probably my favorite page in this whole sketchbook. After going through the whole museum, sunflowers, this particular sunflowers is like my favorite piece that was there. I just love how, like, I often find I have the impulse to, when I look at something and draw something, like if I was looking at this vase of roses, I would have the impulse to add on the petals back on, you know, and like try and make all the sunflowers like facing the camera and looking perfect, but kind of along the same theme as what I was saying earlier. Van Gogh just painted it as what it looked like, this half wilting pot of sunflowers, and there's something very beautiful about the fact that you can tell this is real and it hasn't been, he didn't try and make it more lively and interesting than it really was, and that's what makes it such an enticing piece. And I just had so much fun like matching the colors and trying to make it look as close to the original as I could, but also putting my own spin on it. I actually bought myself this little print of this piece to put on my wall because I found it so inspiring, and now you can see it in case you weren't familiar with this piece. See what I was trying to replicate. So this was our last day in Amsterdam. We got a really delicious waffle cookie thing that ended up costing like close to 10 Canadian dollars, but it was delicious. It might have actually even been more than 10 Canadian dollars for this cookie that was like this big, but it was so good. We went to the Lush in Amsterdam as well, just because I needed one thing. So we ended up going to Lush in every city that we went to except Edinburgh, which was awesome. And then this is our first day in Belfast, which was the last city that we stayed in. And we got to stay with our friends Declan and Natalie while we were there. This was our first night there. We went to a pub nearby their place and had some authentic chips, and Kelsey and Declan had some Guinness. Kelsey said that he doesn't really like Guinness when you get it here, but the way that they pour it there is just way better, and I tried a couple sips. I'm not a huge beer drinker, but I could appreciate that it was better than when you get it out of a can when it's here. And then these are just some little sketches of, oh, they have a really beautiful botanic garden in Belfast. These were sketches of some of the flowers that we saw there and just various plants. And then this is just a sketch of Belfast is another, pretty much every city we went to was like this. They just had beautiful older architecture that I just felt so much more inspired to draw it and put it in my sketchbook than I ever do with any of the buildings here, because they just have so much character. They're so cute and so fun. So that's actually the last of all of the sketching pages. I did do these through together this morning, actually, just with some little bits of things that I saved throughout the trip. So this was from this is my ticket to the Beatrix Potter exhibit. This is a tag from the t-shirt I bought at Lush Oxford Street. We went to Abbey Road, and they have a little shop there with a bunch of cool souvenirs and stuff. This was a really awesome like vintage clothing store that we found. And then this and this beautiful like clementine orangey paper, where this was the bag that I got my stuff in from Pansy, and it was so cute. I wanted to add it into here. And this was our ticket from when we did the Magical Mystery Tour. And that is it. That's all of the pages I got to fill, which is probably good because this video ended up being way longer than I thought it was gonna be. I was worried it was gonna be a really short video, but I apparently had a lot to say. So thanks for hanging out with me while I got to share this sketchbook I had so much fun putting together. I hope that you'll come back and watch my vlogs from the trip, because I had so much fun filming it, and I know I'm gonna have a lot of fun editing it and reliving our experiences, and I think they should be pretty fun to watch. So it truly means a lot that you are spending your time hanging out here watching this video with me when there's pretty much infinite other things you could be doing with your day. So thank you, you're the best. I will see you in the next one.